Welcome to Jingle Books. It's a holiday tradition presented by Books That Make You and produced by Black Chateau Enterprises. We're going to hang out tonight. There's a variety of authors that are going to be joining us, sharing their books, holiday traditions, and showing us what a bookish holiday season is all about. It's like a variety show meets the best holiday party ever. There's lots of surprises and, of course, lots of books. If you have a book lover on your holiday list, or maybe you yourself are a book lover and maybe you're looking to stock your own to be read list for 2025, looking for some new reads, then, my friends, prepare to meet your new favorite authors and get some ideas for your shopping list. Now, for the best, in my opinion, optimal viewing experience of this Jingle Books event, if you're watching on the Books That Make You website or the YouTube channel, then perfect. You are going to have the optimal viewing experience because then you can hang out in the YouTube chat. There's other book lovers in there. Plus, the little helpers that we have, the Jingle Books little helpers, are going to be posting about the authors and about their books. So there's going to be links and things for you to check out. Now, what makes Jingle Books so special is the Facebook group. You got to open that page too. So when you go to Facebook, go to the Jingle Books Group. It's a group from Books That Make You. So in the Jingle Books Group, you can play games, and there's so many that are going to be fun for you to take advantage of. So ideally, okay, this is the setup. The ideal setup is that you have two screens, one so that you can watch the Jingle Books event, and the other so you can play along with the games at the same time. Now, to play the games during Jingle Books, just again, go to the Jingle Books Group on Facebook, and our little helpers are posting games and making things merry right now as I speak. What kind of games, you might ask? Well, there's a scavenger hunt and an elf on a shelf challenge and so much more. Each new game will have winners chosen at random. Prizes include books paired with bookish goodies, and there's lots of chances to win. Now, the fun lasts. Here's the kicker. All throughout the holiday season, the Jingle Books Facebook group has ongoing games, contests, and holiday fun for book lovers. There is also the big Jingle Books giveaway, and it is packed with books from many of the authors that you're going to meet here at Jingle Books tonight at the event. The giveaway is really easy to enter, and winners are chosen and announced at the end of Jingle Books. So you can go there right now. You have plenty of time, and you could win lovely holiday decor, including a cute village with houses and trees, the fluffiest stocking I've ever seen, adorable holiday decorations, a box of yummy chocolate, and, of course, lots and lots of books from many of the authors that you're going to be meeting today at Jingle Books, such as Rebecca Hendricks with her books, Hard Dog's Night. Yeah, these are part of the giveaway, as well as Saving Casey by Grenell Desjardins, Buzz as he's known. That is part of the giveaway. There's also Bravish by Lisa Niver, N-Word by Kieran Paul Brown, Lost in Tennessee. Okay, I need two hands for this because it's a 2-book series by Stacia Moffat, as well as Mellow Your Money by Mick Heyman, and everybody's favorite by Stephen Joseph, illustrated by Andy Case, Snoodles in Space. So again, you can enter to win these books and so many more bookish prizes when you go to the Books That Make You website. Go to the win page. That's where you click. And you can enter right there or watch in the group, in the chat. They're posting the links right now. So we make it super easy for you to enter and win. Again, winners announced at the very end of Jingle Books, the event tonight. Plus, don't worry, we'll email you too. But that way you know for sure and you get the excitement of knowing right away if you're a winner. So enter now. Plus, there's more. Doing so means that you're also going to get the virtual holiday stocking. Yeah, this virtual holiday stocking is delivered directly to your inbox after the Jingle Books event tonight. And it is stuffed with goodies from authors, again, like you're going to meet during Jingle Books. Lisa Niver, the author of Bravish, she has a special invitation for you. There's also going to be a free download of the prequel to Rebecca Hendricks's Hound Dog series. Grab Hound Dog Beginnings and get whisked back in time to the 1950s and the rock and roll era. There's also an advanced reading copy of Sarah Winoker's highly anticipated forthcoming Ivory Bones. That's right. You can read a copy, an advanced reading copy, by requesting it from the Black Chateau NetGalley page. The link is going to be in that virtual stocking. And get an advanced review and be able to read that book before it even hits the shelves. Plus, you can get a great deal on the 2-book Lost and Found in Tennessee set from Stacia Moffat. And if you're an author, there's a special savings offer on editorial book reviews from Books That Make You, and so much more. Remember, if you're entered to win the giveaway, then you'll also get the virtual stocking. Or you can also, if you don't want to enter the giveaway, but you want to get the virtual stocking, you can simply go to the Books That Make You website. And on the newsletter page, all you need to do is sign up there. And not only will you get the virtual stocking, but you'll receive the monthly Webby Award-winning Books That Make You newsletter. Because you know what? At Books That Make You, we do fun bookish stuff all year long. Now, let's start jingling some books, shall we? Our guest host is the prolific author and organizer of WriterCon, William Bernhardt, along with live stream producer and co-host James Curtis. Take it away.
Hey guys. Hey James.
All right. Hey, how's it going?
Great. Ho ho ho.
Yeah, well, welcome to Jingle Books. Yeah, I'm getting there. I got a nice comfy hat on, a nice sweater, trying to get into the winter a little bit.
That's orange though, dude. It's Christmas. Come on.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't own I know. I meant to go to the store, but I didn't do it.
Well, I told you before we started that if I had just thought to move my chair to the other side of this table, we'd have this lovely Christmas tree in the background, but I didn't think of it in time.
No.
Those lights would probably be really distracting anyway, so.
Yeah. No, it's better with the books. It's more on theme.
Yeah.
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we get started with our first guest.
Oh, gee whiz. I'm a writer. I've published 65 books to date, I think. I might have lost track. Who knows? But my first book was published in 91. Done a lot of thrillers, but for that matter, I've done young adult and 3 books of poetry that I'm very proud of. And a picture book and 10 books on writing. That should be mentioned given our topic. And a Christmas book, which is hovering over my shoulder, The Midnight Before Christmas. And I also, as Desiree mentioned in the intro, I host a writers conference every year called WriterCon, which is in Oklahoma City over Labor Day weekend. Go to writercon.com. This would be the perfect Christmas gift. Back me on this, James. This would be the perfect Christmas gift for the writer in your life, right? And if you do it right now, you get the 2024 early bird prices. So, come on.
Absolutely. Love that. Awesome. Thanks for kind of laying your work out a little bit more. Yeah, I thought about trying to write an intro for you, but then I looked at the body of your work and I was like, I need Bill to tell us on his own.
Fair deal. Well, what about you? Let's hear your bio.
Oh, we'll get to me at the end. We got to get going with our first guest, actually. So,
all right.
But before we do, I do want to say that as a reminder, I know we just heard it on the video, but you can still enter to win the pack of books plus holiday decor. You get a lot of stuff there. So make sure you get rolling with that. And we're going to move into our
stocking. That's the fluffiest stocking you've ever seen. Are the hosts precluded from participating in the games?
I would say just do it anyway, or have a friend do it.
I can do it in a side window or something. Oh, yeah. Laura! No, I won't do
it. Yeah. There are ways around it. All right, so we're going to roll into our first guest. We're starting off with Mick Heyman. I'm going to go ahead and bring you on. Mick is the author of Mellow Your Money, and he is going to read from his book and give a short lesson in tarot card reading and hopefully tell us what 2025 might look like, which we're hoping is going to be mellow.
We're hoping.
How's it going, Mick? Yeah.
Going great.
Yeah,
Thank you, James.
Yeah, good.
Well,
yeah, thanks for coming on. Did you want to start off with your reading?
sure. I just thought first to say happy holidays to everybody and glad to celebrate with everybody
Christmas.
here. And yeah, I thought I'd start off with the short reading, and then we can, that might be a good segue to the second part when we use the trusted tarot to hopefully give us a clue to the new year. So
Yeah,
first with the reading, it's from my book, Mellow Your Money, How to Surf the Market and Build Wealth Without Stressing Yourself Out. This is from chapter 4, The Man Who Did Everything Wrong and the Man Who Did Everything Right. War? Who wrote down war? And the speaker looked around the room, implying some idiot wrote down war. I was the idiot in question. I slunk down in my seat. I was attending an economist luncheon, and though I was no great fan of economists, I found every bit of information potentially valuable. And it was usually fun to gather around with other advisors, especially whenever someone else agrees to pick up the tab. So I went, thinking to have a nice lunch and expand my knowledge without making a fool of myself. I had apparently failed on that score. Fred was a celebrated economist visiting Louisville to share his views on the future of the economy and the market. He had passed around note cards and asked each of us to write down where we thought interest rates and other market signposts might end up by the end of the year. He also asked us to write down what we thought might be the biggest surprise of the year. On my note card, I wrote war, and for some reason that really tickled the expert. War? Boy, that's a new one, Fred chortled from his seat. I ask this question everywhere I go, and believe me, that's a lot of places, and nobody has ever come up with war. Boy, that is rich. And then he paused. The silence seemed to go on for minutes, everyone looking around, and it became obvious he wasn't giving up until he found me. So I raised my hand. About 20 faces turned immediately toward me, half in astonishment, half relieved that the idiot was me and not them. Were you joking? Fred asked me. How do you imagine a war happening in America this year? Maybe you were envisioning something abroad, like Chile or Argentina. Everyone stared, waiting for my answer. I couldn't take the easy road out Fred had offered me. I couldn't have located Argentina or Chile on a map if he paid me. Thankfully, after my own excruciatingly long pause, the simple answer came to me. Well, Fred, you asked for a surprise, didn't you? I flashed him my sincerest smile. I have no idea why we would end up in a war. That's why it would be a surprise. Mercifully, Fred moved on. He'd had his fun with me and I was forgotten. I'm pretty sure, though, that many in that room will have thought back to that awkward moment when 3 months later, in September of that very year, the planes hit the World Trade Center and America went to war. Here's the thing I've learned about surprises. They come as a surprise, and they are an unavoidable part of the market and, of course, our lives. As I had tried to explain to Fred all those years ago, surprises emerge improbably out of the blue and make us all look like idiots. But if we're prepared, we can grow from them in ways that predictions can never offer, because we have to pivot in the moment. And in doing so, we learn firsthand how well we've prepared for the impossible. I had predicted the unpredictable war that came upon us in 2001, but did I act on this possibility? Did I warn my family, sell my stocks? No. My prediction was just a fun and somewhat embarrassing story about how stupid I looked at an economist luncheon until the impossible happened on that horrible day. The fact is that although there are always things to worry about, seldom do the things we fret about actually occur. It's always the one thing you don't predict, the one detail you forgot to attend to that ends up coming back to haunt you. It's also hard to predict whether a particular event will turn out to be a negative or a positive in the long run. Only time will tell you that. Inspiring words you can take to the bank. My life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. Michel de Montaigne. So that's the reading. And now that I've read about how unlikely it is to predict a surprise, I thought let's try to predict one, or at least look at what might be facing us in the new year. I learned a little bit about the tarot years ago when I enjoyed taking various offbeat adult classes. For some reason, I thought I might meet women in these classes. I failed miserably at that, but in addition to a juggling class that was a blast, I also learned about the tarot. And even though I don't use the deck to necessarily predict the stock market or even events in my own life, I found it useful to creatively look at my life, and often it has inspired me to see aspects of my life that I would not have seen without the help of the cards. And occasionally I've found them to be surprisingly prophetic. Even Carl Jung, one of the pioneers of modern psychology, had said the tarot can connect one to their own personal unconscious. So let's see what the cards might be telling us about the new year. There are 78 cards in the tarot deck. 22 cards are called the major arcana. Those include many that you may have heard about in movies or about cards like the Fool card or the Hangman or the Death card. The other cards are called the minor arcana, and these are represented by 4 suits, similar to a regular deck of cards. The potential meanings of the cards are actually much different than what you might expect, and I found the symbolism stretches back over centuries. Now, to make things simpler, because of time, we're just going to use the major arcana cards. Also, there are many ways to, quote, throw the cards, but again, for simplicity, the easiest way is to deal out 3 cards. One for putting the past in perspective, one for understanding more our present circumstances, and one for revealing potential future alternatives. It's important, too, to ask a question. I'm going to go ahead and ask one for myself, but each of you can consider how this reading might apply to your own lives. My question is, what surprise might we be facing in 2025? Now I'm going to briefly shuffle the cards. No magic tricks here. And we'll see what happens. So the first card I'm going to pick is called the World card. I'll explain each one in a minute. Let's shuffle again. And the next one is the Fool card. And the third one, the Future. What does the future bring? The Magician. So let's briefly define each card and see if they tell us a story. The World card is actually the card to celebrate your success, maximize your potential. Think of the triumphs and tribulations that have come along your path. The Fool card is actually one of my favorite cards, and think of childlike enthusiasm, new beginnings, taking risks, embracing your impulses. And finally, the Magician. The Magician speaks of someone being clever, in control, manifesting your objectives, and the ability to use one's skills well. So what's this potential story here? Well, in the past, we've got the world. We've got the potential of looking back at ourselves and thinking about what success have we made, making sure that we harness those successes, looking to the future, and there's a good foundation for us in the past. Now, what's happening currently? It talks about the Fool, about new beginnings, about taking risks. And so potentially looking into 2025, maybe this is a time for us to follow our impulses a bit, to take a risk, to leap into the unknown as you see the Fool. And finally, the Magician. And here we're thinking about using our personal power and manifesting our objectives. And I guess the story here is, if we're willing to take that leap into the unknown, I think it's telling us that we all can find success in 2025. And it's a very optimistic reading. So anyway, I think my time is about done, and really appreciate the opportunity here.
Yeah.
And wish you all happy
thanks
holidays.
so much. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Mick. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That's fascinating.
All right. Well,
My
rolling
wife
right
also
yeah.
reads tarot cards. I don't know if you could tell, I was kind of surreptitiously trying to text her under the table, like, tune in, you'd like this.
Well, we'll have it up on the YouTube after, so she can always go back and rewatch too.
Good point.
We're gonna roll into Lisa Niver next. Let me go ahead and bring you on. Lisa is the author of the epic award-winning. Hello. Lisa is the author of the epic award-winning reinvention and travel memoir Bravish, and will share tips and secret getaway locations for holiday travel, along with discussing what it takes to stay fearless after 50. Hello, Lisa. How are you today?
Hi, happy holidays. It's so great to be on with you guys.
Good to see you too.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I like to travel too. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Well, I love what Mick was saying about how it's time to leap into the unknown, because that's basically all I ever do, leap away. Congratulations on all your books. That's a huge accomplishment and a conference.
Well, I've been at it a long time. So
That's great.
I got a head start. First book in 91, I think, which was 2 years after I trekked the Annapurna Range in the Himalayas. This is for you. And now, 30 years later, my son, Harry, just finished doing the same thing. I mean, how's that for cool adventure travel?
Oh, I love it when families adventure together, because I get questions about that all the time about family travel. And I don't know if you can tell, I'm in a beautiful suite here at Secrets Bahia Mita. I'm outside of Puerto Vallarta. And this resort, the side I'm on, is adults only, but the other side is family. So I love finding ways for people to travel. And I always recommend, people always ask me for tips. So at an all-inclusive, it's so great. You're not curious at the end of the week, like, oh my gosh, the food costs that much, or the drinks. So I think that really makes a difference for people, because you plan in advance, and then it's never fun to get a surprise bill. Because I know everybody's probably holiday shopping, and Desiree talked about, getting books for the people on your list. But I think that's one of the things a lot of people want to do is travel. So I have a couple of travel tips for you. Are you ready?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so one of the tips that I've been giving a lot about travel that maybe everybody isn't aware of, I've been surprised how many people say, oh, that is a good idea. So whatever airline you like, take the credit card and take the bonus miles. You get to check a bag, which you might not know this about me, but I take my hula hoop everywhere. So I need to check my luggage. I'm not one of those carry-on. I've been I've been videoing more and more of my hula hooping adventures, and my YouTube is almost to 2.25 million views.
Wow.
So I've been adding more hula hooping. It's really great for exercise, and it sparks a lot of conversation when you hula hoop by the pool at a hotel.
So I need to acquire a dubious talent, is what you're saying. That will get views online.
I don't know about that, but it's been working for me. But
hey, I couldn't do it, so more power to you.
Thank you. So the credit card gives you the miles, which is so great, because then you can take more flights. And another thing I always recommend to people about flights is, it used to be when I was growing up that people always booked round trip tickets. That was the way to get a better fare. And people still believe that the best way to get a great fare is to book round trip. And in fact, I do not ever book a round trip ticket. And most of the time I don't fly out and back on the same airline. So some people are really tied to, like, oh, I'm a Delta flyer, I'm a United flyer. And it is true, if you're extremely loyal, you do get more points, you might get more upgrades, but I care what's the most direct route. So when I was just in Philadelphia for my Penn reunion, and the best route is on American Airlines. And my friend is a Delta flyer, so he didn't fly direct, and then they lost his luggage. And I was like, well, is that really better?
Yeah.
He said, you can see my wisdom. So my other thing I always like to tell people is to make sure when you travel that you really need to use the F word. And of course, that would be flexible. So when you're in the airport and your flight gets delayed or you're on the road and it's very busy, if it takes an extra hour or two, it's still really important to stay calm. I noticed when I was traveling right before Thanksgiving that everybody seemed really anxious in the airport. So I would like to remind people, please pack your own snacks. It is no fun for anybody if you're traveling hangry. They don't serve great snacks anymore. And maybe there's going to be a long line. I'm always amazed to get to the airport and the Starbucks line is like an hour.
Right.
So take care of yourself. If you need snacks, pack your snacks. If you need a blanket, bring your own. You got to take care of yourself when you're traveling. So I think that's really important.
Are there some snacks that you can't get through TSA? I mean, other than like street drugs and stuff, but I mean actual snacks that you can't take through security?
Often, it depends what you pick. Like sometimes I take a hard-boiled egg and a muffin, and there are times certain scanners don't like hard-boiled eggs. It must be the wrong consistency. And so sometimes they open my bag and they're like, oh yeah, this is fine. But I've been surprised, like a little cup of yogurt, they never stop me for that. So
Even though it's liquid and
liquid-ish.
over 3.2, yeah.
I have
like
a brave-ish and a liquid-ish. But I just think pack something reasonable, like I take those little Bonnie Bell cheeses or a yogurt or something healthy. Bring a banana. You can always get M&Ms in the airport, but you can't always get like something healthy that'll sustain you. Or I basically pack my elementary school lunch: cheese and crackers, and apple.
Yeah.
But you got to take care of yourself. So I think that makes a big difference.
We did get a question from the audience that I'm also very interested in finding out, which was, how did you find your way into the niche of traveling and doing the travel writing?
That's such a good question. So when I was little, my parents, I wasn't so little, I was a teenager. My parents took us on a Mediterranean cruise. It was at the time when you were a dentist or a doctor. If you went on the cruise, it would count it as education. And at the time, everything was tax deductible. Right. So there were people doing these seminars. And I was at the Parthenon, and I was at the Egyptian pyramids. And it was so incredible. I was at the Western Wall in Israel, and I felt like my history books came to life. And at the time in school, I thought that history or social studies, whatever you call it, was very boring. And then I was in the actual places, and I thought, who can make this boring? And that just created this huge desire for me to want to travel more. And I ended up studying one whole summer in Israel in high school. I studied a whole semester in Jerusalem in college. And after I finished school, I actually started working for Club Med because I was like, oh, I really like living in the dorms, and I really like traveling, and I really like scuba diving, and they're going to pay me. So that's how I got started in traveling. And then the writing just kind of happened. It made sense that there was a way to make it happen. And then for my book, I actually did 50 crazy challenges before I turned 50 after my divorce to reinvent myself and start my life again.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. What were some of those challenges?
Well, one of the growing up,
don't give away the big ones. Obviously,
Okay.
That's in the book. But
in the book, growing up, I'll give you a teaser. Growing up, I had a lot of trouble with with accidents. People said that I was very clumsy, and it turned out I'm not clumsy. I had an undiagnosed eye problem. So I was a couple of times in the hospital, and I used to run into things. But once, it was actually the eye doctor that helped me during my divorce, who said, now that your eyes are working better together, you need to do some challenges. But in reference to your question, a lot of people ask me how they could travel more. So I have two thoughts for you. One is, you don't have to leave your hometown to travel. You could have an adventure in your own backyard. You just need to be a little bit curious, or maybe drive home on a new street. And the other thing I have that is part of the giveaway is that I have a new class called Travel Writer 101, and we are giving access to everybody to my class so that you can get started on your journey of being a travel writer this holiday season.
Awesome. That's great.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lisa, we'd love to have somebody come speak on travel writing at WriterCon, our annual conference. I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness, I get to
Live.
travel to WriterCon? I'm in.
I'll have my
connections
people
form.
contact your people. Okay.
I will even send you these flowers.
That would, deal.
Lisa, we're coming up on time here, but with the last minute or so that we've got left, what's something that you want to make sure that you leave with the audience today?
I would love to tell the audience that I have a podcast called Make Your Own Maps. I have the book, I have the class, and my podcast just won again this year, just last Sunday, an award for diversity and entertainment. So you can check out my podcast. I have a lot of travel writers that have come on to be interviewed, as well as the ambassador from Ireland and Deepak Chopra. So if you want to know more about getting to travel, maybe they will inspire you also.
Awesome.
Congratulations on the award. That's terrific.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that's
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, and for those of you who are watching, all of those links should be posted as well in the chat. So just make sure that you go and check out all of Lisa's work, because it's obviously very impressive and incredible. I appreciate you coming on, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everybody has a healthy and happy holiday season.
Thank you. You too. All right. That was cool. I'm happy to get some travel tips. Unfortunately, it came after I traveled to my friend's house. But
yeah, I had never
maybe I'll
thought
help me on
about
the way home.
I'm sorry, the idea of booking 2 separate one-way flights instead of a round trip. Was she saying that it's less expensive, or just that there are other advantages of it? I mean, that would never even have occurred to me unless I was going to be there for a month.
Yeah, I think that it's just like, yeah, you're more likely to find like the better deal for each flight, and so you can kind of get the best deal overall. If you
Yeah,
I think
that was part of what she was saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned something.
All right, we are. Yeah, no, that was awesome. We're gonna keep rolling with Stacia Moffett. Hi, Stacia. How are you?
Hello.
Stacia is the author of the Lost and Found in Tennessee series, and is here to share her memories of her family's Irish Christmas morning breakfast in Nashville in the 50s, which I'm really excited about. I just moved from Nashville, so I'm excited to hear all about it.
This is 2 books.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And grandparents are a part of these books, just as dogs are a part of these books. And so I have to share this Christmas memory. I was growing up in Nashville. We lived across town from my grandparents, and my cousin's family also shared in the Christmas. So we gathered at my grandparents' house and on Christmas Eve, and we would be greeted by the little Pekingese dog at the front door, Dusty Dawn, and she could not be let out because she would run like a streak straight across the busy highway, but she was a great participant in the family. And we would first look for the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree would have been a red cedar that was cut on my uncle's farm. And red cedar is very prickly and very fragrant. So it was always a special treat. The Christmas decorations were antique. And there was one Santa that we always looked for. We weren't sure he was going to make it year after year because his cotton was pushing out, but he was still there, supported on the branches. And next to the Christmas tree was the chimney and the fireplace and the mantle where our Christmas stockings would be hung up. My cousins and I were maybe 4 to 8 in age. And so this was a real special Christmas event for us. And we would go to the chimney and look up and see where our stockings could hang. And we'd have to call my grandfather, who had hunting socks. And that's what we used for our stockings. So he would bring out 2 pairs for the 4 children, and we would have our stockings hung up on the fireplace. And there would not be a fire because that wasn't fair to the elf. But we were still true believers at this point. And so we would put our Christmas gifts that we had brought under the tree, and then we would have a simple meal, and it was time for kids to go to bed. Kids had to go to bed so that Santa could come. And we would check to see if there was any snow falling, but usually not in Nashville. So we would head for the upstairs, and always resolving that we were going to hear Santa and come down and intercept him in the process of putting out our treats. But we never did. And Christmas morning, we would check, and Santa had taken some of the Coke and some of the crackers that were left for him, and our stockings were stuffed full with piles of wonderful things. And so these would be lifted down. We would start looking through them. There would be candies, little fishes, and pieces of striped ribbon, and coconuts with soft centers, wonderful hard candies, and nuts of all sorts, and fruit. And in between all of those, what we were really looking for were the toys. And there would be some toys interspersed. And so we would essentially dump out all of our stocking and have a nice pile of goodies. And it would be time for breakfast. And breakfast was the special thing that was created by my grandmother, Sweeney. She would work endlessly to have everything perfect. And when the doors were opened to the dining room, the white lace tablecloth would be set with beautiful china and an array of wonderful, wonderful smelling things on the table. So we would rush in and get each in our seat and wait for the delights to begin. The first course was oyster stew. Oyster stew was something that was made as a creamy soup, and I have no idea where the oysters came from. They could have been sent in by train to landlocked Tennessee on ice, or they could have come from cans, but they were something connected to the Irish ancestry of my grandparents. So both of them were happy to have the Irish stew as part of the Christmas morning. And the next course was the poached doves. My grandfather contributed to the Christmas breakfast by going out and hunting for weeks and weeks in advance of Christmas, so that the doves could be accumulated so that every person had a bowl with a poached dove in it. Meat of wild birds is always dark meat, but this was tender nevertheless, and it was possible to pull it off the bones, and it was delightful. I liked that much better than the oyster stew, but I didn't let on. I had to like everything. And after the doves were served, the next course was the main course, and in that we diverged from an Irish tradition to a Tennessee tradition. The Tennessee tradition was spiced round. The spiced round was this dark pink meat that was sliced, and when it was sliced, it was polka dotted because it had had spices inserted into the meat. And I was told that the tradition in Nashville was triggered by an event in the Civil War. There was a shipment of beef that had just arrived in the Louisville and Nashville train station when the train tracks were blown up. And so it couldn't be shipped out. The meat was at risk of spoiling. So they called all the chefs in from the Nashville hotels. And they said, help us do something with this meat. And one of the things that was approached was for the larger pieces of meat to be drilled with, I don't know what kind of a drill they used to drill out meat, but they had to have channels, and they stuffed the channels with the fat and spices, salt and spices. And it was coriander and allspice, dill, bay leaf, all kinds of things that were apparently able to preserve the meat. So they had natural preservatives in the spices. And the meat could be saved till Christmas time. And the tradition of having saved that meat was something that they celebrated when I was a child. So I guess you can still get spiced round. It's a German recipe, but it was not very appealing to a child. It was very spicy, but with pickles or preserves or biscuits, it was still good. And we also had ham and other things to eat. So there was a bountiful breakfast, and we all complimented my grandmother and my grandfather for providing this. And it was in many ways a shared tradition that provided us kids with a sense of belonging, a wonderful sense of having traditions in the family that we were a part of. And for my grandparents, sweethearts from adjacent farms who had married and established a very happy family, it was a tradition that they loved to have us all there for Christmas morning. So that's my memories of what it was like at Christmas time.
Yeah.
That was just lovely. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing those with us. In the little bit of time left, is there a single message that you might want to leave with our audience to say goodbye? All of your links to your work and stuff will be posted already, but anything you want to leave them with?
I think I want to say that grandparents are very important for children, and it's really wonderful when they can contribute to the lives of their children. And I put that in the books. It's there, and it's a part of my life as well. So
I love that.
I wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Yeah, you
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Bye. All right. That was lovely. Let's go ahead and keep rolling. We got up next is Scott Ryan and Becca Moore. So I'm going to go ahead and get them added onto the stage here. Scott and Becca are authors of the
Hey,
Book
guys.
Fest award-winning Massillon Against the World. They're here to discuss the importance of snowsuits for cold football games and also using memory boxes for your reading.
What are you doing, Becca? You're wearing the snowsuit. I thought we were going to do layers.
I thought you said we were supposed to wear our snowsuit because we were like,
What?
where's your snowsuit, Scott? Don't you have a snowsuit from like 1985?
Yeah, of course I got my snowsuit, but I thought we were doing layers. So I got my blanket, I got a hat, I got a hoodie, I got a shirt underneath. I mean, what are you wearing the snowsuit for?
I thought that's what we were talking about, snowsuits. And look, it's like bright orange.
Ah, my goodness. Oh, hello, everyone.
Hello. I do have a picture of Scott's snowsuit if we want to show that.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's
yeah, you
just
have to show
the
a snowsuit.
I like snowsuits, just for the record. So
Mine's better.
Yeah.
Perfect.
1980,
Just wanna make
1981
sure.
maybe.
I've had
Yeah.
that snowsuit
No,
my
it's
whole
a
life.
beaut.
I wear it to all the games when it gets cold. And Becca made fun of me for the first couple years, and now what does she have? Her own snowsuit.
I do have my own snowsuit. I do have my own suit. It got cold.
Yeah.
So our book is Massillon Against the World.
Mhm.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's trying to
and-
censor it.
Yeah, I understand. It's the cover that's too hot for the internet.
Yeah.
And we wrote it together about the season last year. And for those who have not heard of Massillon, Ohio, it is known for high school football. We have the oldest rivalry in the country. It's older than the OSU Michigan game. It goes all the way back to 1894, where we battled the Massillon McKinley game every year. And in Massillon, that is Christmas. So Christmas is the Massillon McKinley game.
That's cool.
And we cover that in the book. You would not believe what Becca has to go through. Becca, tell them a little bit about what the Massillon McKinley week is like for a coach's wife.
So the Massillon McKinley week is basically you're not getting any sleep because starting at the end of the game on Friday, if we have a home game, like all of a sudden all the signs go up all across town and everything. And then we have something every day. Like it's basically a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner, or a lunch and a dinner. And Scott loved all the rigatoni that we ate all week long. So we eat a lot of rigatoni, which is not a Christmas dish.
No, it's really crazy. And then the game is either played at Massillon, which holds about 16 to 18,000 people, and the town only has 30,000 people. So over half the town can fit into the stadium. Or it's played at the Pro Football Hall of Fame field, which is McKinley's stadium. So it's, in fact, Becca and I do a show called Tiger Talk where we actually made orange Santa hats that we wear for the Massillon McKinley game. That much Christmas in Tiger Town, as we like to call it. And so Becca, tell them a little bit about what our book is about.
So Scott writes this whole long introduction about what it's like to be from Massillon because he loves Massillon. Massillon loves him. And I write this whole introduction about how I was the most hated person when we moved to Massillon. So it's kind of because it's just a small town and I kind of came in and people were not used to someone like me who's very involved with the football team and just with the players and everything. So the book is a little bit about, you know, kind of overcoming that adversity and keeping in mind like who you are as a person and staying yourself, and then, you know, helping the team overcome adversity and have a winning season and win the first ever state championship game in the playoff era. They've won games, you know, state playoff games, I guess you would say before, but that was when the media or writers used to, you know, decide, just like, you know, college and stuff. But what's cool about writing this book with Scott is because Scott has been going to Massillon games since he was a kid, and Massillon was just a dream for my husband to come maybe one day be a coach here. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so Massillon had won the state championship 24 times, and then I was born. And they never won again until last year. So they
took
were
it personally.
on a 53-year drought. And I always thought it was my fault. So I had never got to see them win. And, you know, this was all I ever wanted because I grew up in this town and that's what everyone cares about. And so at the state championship game, which we cover in the book, we interview all the coaches and you get to see how they achieve this goal that, you know, this whole town was just waiting for. And it happened. We won the state championship. And I was so moved, I couldn't speak. And if any of you have seen my performances on these things, you know, me not what usually happens. And I was I was in the front row of the stage.
He's like sitting right here. He's like right there.
And I was just frozen. And all of a sudden across the field, I see Becca running towards me in her snowsuit. And what do you say, Becca?
I said, I ran up to him and I said, I told you so. I told you so. Because he didn't think we were going to win.
And I didn't think we would. So moments after, I get, and I told you so. And
Yeah.
Becca even placed it. Is this going to work or?
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry. There we go. She made me a memory box that has her telling me I told you so.
And it has a picture of us in our snowsuits. I think it's really cool, like
it's
for
funny.
a
Yeah.
writer to, like, because what do? We
No,
put
that's
books
cool.
on the shelves, or we put them,
Yeah.
by our bed. But we won an award for this book. So at the Book Fest Award, and we won 2 actually, right, Scott?
I think we won 3, but we don't want to sound like we're, we're not counting.
Let's tell everyone it was 4. Let's just say 4.
I think we won them all, actually.
We won them all. But we got the books with our seal on it, which is what I put in there. But I had to make sure I put our snowsuits in there because obviously you need to remember to bundle up. But
and you put I told you so.
And I put I told you so because I was right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a great book for people who, miss that like small town America feel. This is a town that has been ravaged by industry and, it's a bunch of blue collar workers and all those businesses have moved away. All the factories have closed, but the town survives honestly because of the high school football team, where people come out every week. The number one employer used to be Republic Steel, and now the number one employer is Massillon Public Schools.
Yeah.
So the town has certainly changed, but that desire for football has never changed.
Yeah. We did get an audience question. They want to know how it works working together with sharing ideas with each other for creating a work like this.
So that is a great question, and I love that question, how we work together. So actually, how it all started was Scott was working on a book with another author for 15 for 15 because he thought we were going to win that year, and he was like super excited. So they did a book, and it was 15 weeks. And so I wrote in that book about the Massillon-McKinley week, and how it's Christmas in Massillon, and then just kind of like what that week was like for me. And so when we became friends, and then we started doing our show, our YouTube show, Tiger Talk. And then as you get to know somebody, you kind of understand like how they write and they work. And so when the season began, I called Scott and I said, Scott, I think we're going to win this season. I mean, this is it. Like, we're going to win the state championship. I think we're going to go undefeated. It's going to be crazy. And so the day after we won the state championship, I had gotten no sleep. Obviously, 7,000 people were downtown. We had the sheriff's hat. Like, I learned what it was like to be we had to be escorted by the sheriff, like onto the stage, off the stage, because there were so many people. So
wow.
Scott and I met at a Tremont Coffee the next day, and we started making our outline. But really, I think, just bouncing, if you're working with somebody, just bring both your perspectives to it. Like everybody has a unique perspective and everybody's different. So like I have an insight because I'm obviously married to the head coach, and Scott's been a fan forever. So whatever it is you're liking, like I heard somebody talking about traveling and you said, I wish I, was traveling too. Like you would have a different perspective because that's what they do. But you want to travel. So I think it's just combining your perspectives and then just working through those different things and then tying them together. And that's kind of what we did. We would write, tie it together, write and tie it together.
And mostly I just did whatever she said.
That's not true.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming on and telling us more about it. It sounds like a really interesting book, and I'm excited to get to read it.
Yes, please do. Yeah. And check us out on YouTube, Tiger Talk, during the season. And we'll have a special spring version because I'm becoming the head coach for girls flag football. So maybe we'll write a book
awesome.
about that.
Yeah.
Next one.
Sounds great. Yeah.
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 Happy
Thanks so much
holidays,
for coming
you
on.
guys.
Have a good one. Yeah. Happy
Thank
holidays.
you. Bye-bye.
All right. We're going to move right into Rebecca
thought you'd say
Hendricks. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hey there.
Rebecca
Hi.
is another veteran who's been with us before. She's here today to, first of all, let me say she's the author of the Hound Dogged series and is here to read a short original story, a Hound Dogged Christmas Tale, which has been written exclusively for this event. This is a Jingle Books.
How cool
exclusive.
is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
I
I
thought
thought,
line, James.
you know, I thought it would be a good opportunity to, show some, highlight some characters that are coming up in the book. The Barnhard house has been talked about in the second book. It's where Ronnie lives. Ronnie
Mhm.
is handicapped, and he was, sent to the Barnhard house by his family that didn't want to deal with his handicap. So he lived there since he was 3 years old. So in the next book, the third book, you get to know a little bit more about Barnhard House and about some of the residents that live there. So this story revolves around Lyle, who's one of the residents there. He's a young boy, about 7. So,
Okay.
Perfect.
all right, I will.
Oh,
I
let me
will
go ahead and get you
Yeah.
the presenter screen here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here we go. There
Whoops.
It's
Come
me.
We're almost there.
There.
Bill, go ahead and read the story for us.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
take it away. All right. So, okay, here we go. I'll do my best to do this correctly. Anyway. Okay. 'Twas the week before Christmas, and in the main room, the children of Barnhard House gathered to trim the tree's bloom. But off in the corner, a small boy did sit, watching snowflakes flurry and flit. Memories of a Christmas past, a treasured scene replayed, a moment of warmth and happiness before the light decayed. His brother, his sister, a sled they would ride, down a bumpy hillside they would drift and glide. Then in the evening, gathered round the tree, the family sang carols filled with glee. But those times were gone, like a storybook rhyme. A disease left him, weakened, bent, and alone in his mind. Prisoner of a chair with wheels he did sit, watching the world turn, a stranger in their midst. Christmas joy was for others, never again for him. If Santa existed, how would he know what gift to give? When out of the gray, a blinding light sliced the night, making way for a Cadillac, its chrome shiny and bright. Emerging from the car, a striking man did appear, his dark red coat trimmed in white, soft as cashmere. Quick as a flash, he rapped at the door with an urgent resolve that could not be ignored. Who could that be at this time of night? A soft voice inquired. How did they get past the gates? Miss Mulligan asked, her voice full of ire. Not waiting for assistance, Miss Mulligan strode to the door. Followed close by anxious children, she opened the door. Good evening, Miss Mulligan, the stranger said with a bow. Forgive the late hour, but I've come to share a gift for a boy whose story is rare. Miss Mulligan, in her usual manner, brought him up short. Who are you, and how did you pass through the gates? Explain yourself now. There's no time for debates. You question my presence at this time of the season? I'm here for the boy. I assure you there's a reason. It does not matter to me what errand you're on. The fact is you're trespassing, and I want you gone. Intimidated by the sharp tone, the stranger gently pushed her aside and dropped down on one knee. Tiny faces gazed at him. He acknowledged each one with a smile. Do you know where I might find Lyle? The children pointed to Lyle alone in his chair. His shy eyes grew wider as the stranger drew near. Hello, young man. I believe you are Lyle. Lyle looked up, and although he couldn't answer, his gaze was enough. The stranger bent forward, a glimmer of fondness in his eyes. His cool hand touched the small cheek and wiped a tear aside. Why are you crying on a night such as this? Is there something you're missing? Something that no longer exists? Lyle's eyes drifted downward to regard his immobile limbs. The stranger's gentle finger lifted his chin. You see my car? It's parked just outside. A friend of yours whispered, you might like to take a ride. Lyle blinked in disbelief. Could he possibly go? Did he dare to believe he could ride through the snow? The stranger laughed. I will assume that's a yes. Miss Mulligan's mouth opened wide, an intent to protest, but a strong, reassuring hand set on her shoulder convinced her that would not be best. The stranger picked Lyle up, wrapped him up good and tight. An amazing adventure he was about to go on that night. Thank you all for your kindness, the stranger declared. I think Santa left a sack of presents for you all to share. Whisked away to the car, the stranger set Lyle on his lap. Placing his hands atop Lyle's, he gave the wheel a tap. We'll steer together, he said with a grin. Just hold it steady and let the fun begin. Lyle's small hands guided the wheel with care as the car rolled forward through the frosty air. The stranger's touch kept the ride smooth and true, while Lyle's wide eyes took in the magical view. As the hum of the engine faded into the night, Miss Mulligan stood in the doorway, bathed in soft moonlight. Who was that man? Miss Mulligan pondered as she watched the car turn the last corner. The answer seemed clear as she gazed at the stars. Lyle would not be a resident of the house for much longer. The man he was riding with would soon become his new father.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And this is the debut presentation, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It was wonderful. I enjoyed sharing it.
How long ago did you complete this to have it ready to share with us exclusively today?
About 2 weeks ago.
Oh, hey, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that was great. I love it.
I wish I would have had. I didn't practice much.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, it's great. Is it going to fit in with the overall Hound Dog universe?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, Barnhart House becomes more of a part of book 3. Where you get to meet all the residents and their stories become a little bit more to the front. And Lyle is in the 3rd book. Yes.
Awesome.
So what I really want to know, though, is does this laurel light up? It looks like it might. Or
No, you know what? I should have thought of that. Is
it just attractive? Well, yeah, for next year.
Yeah, I'll try.
up.
I'll step it up for the next time I do this.
Becca, we got just a little bit of time left. Is there a message that you want to leave with our viewers on your way out?
I just want to, make sure that everybody knows to have a happy holiday, to kind of put aside everything, all the craziness that's going on in our world right now, and just focus on what's important, which is family, and things like being close with your loved ones and spending as much time with them as possible. I think that's what needs to be focused on this time of year, and sharing as much love and kindness with anyone that you meet, even someone on the street. So I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
on.
Merry Christmas
you.
to you too.
Bye.
All right. Up next, we've got Kieran Paul Brown. Kieran is the author of the provocative.
Hey, Kieran.
Hello. How's it going? I keep forgetting to say hello to people before I launch into saying who they are. Kieran is the author of the provocative new novel Inward, and is here to read a passage about the daring exploration of identity and discuss emerging American insecurities. How's it going, Kieran?
It's going very well. I'm very excited to be here. Slightly nervous, but yeah. Thanks for having
me. Yeah, thanks for coming. Did you want to start off by doing your reading?
Yeah, I will. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go. Antonia, I'm sorry.
There.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Antonia,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did to you, and I hope you can forgive me. Once again, Antonia was lost in that forgotten place, that dark and endless void of nothingness from which she'd heard Peter and Claire callously allow her to die. Once again, Antonia was separated from her body. Once again, she was detached from the experience of living in the three-dimensional physical universe. Once again, she existed as nothing but a disembodied consciousness floating through an endless ether of thought, heading to an unknown destination from an unremembered origin. Antonia's senses had abandoned her once again. She saw, smelt, felt, heard, and tasted nothing, but was somehow in some way more aware than ever before. And because of this, she knew something. Antonia was not alone. She felt a masculine presence all around, one she'd known for many years but hadn't felt for decades, one she'd hated for all of that life but still missed more than the deserts miss the rain. That same masculine presence which now felt surprisingly warm, loving, and remorseful. I'm sorry, he repeated. However, the masculine presence didn't communicate with words but with energy, vibration, resonance, one which permeated Antonia's being and imbued within her, sorry, my AirPod just fell out, imbued within her the proper depth of his meaning. I harmed you in ways no soul ever should do to another, and I want you to know that it wasn't your fault. I take full responsibility. Antonia had never felt such affection from him before. His thoughts warmed her spirit and shone a healing light on her soul, one which illuminated that dark chasm of nothingness all around and transformed it into a bright expanse of love. I wasn't good enough for you, she thought in response, tearful energy flowing from her being in all directions. You hated me, she added. That's why you did those things against my will. That's why you degraded me. No, he replied. You couldn't be any further from the truth. It wasn't you I hated, but myself. I detested the man I was. I hated who I had become, and seeing your youthful innocence was an ongoing reminder of everything I had lost. Every day I saw your beautiful smile or felt that loving energy beaming from your pure heart, mine shattered just a little bit more. You were brought into my life as a mirror, Antonia. Through you, I saw myself for who I truly was, and through you, I received my soul's most significant challenge in that lifetime. The complete and enduring support you showed those people, despite what others thought, inspired my soul and challenged my ego. Please know that the more I attempted to kill the light of your spirit, the more I actually killed myself. Please know that it broke me to do those things to you. It broke me mentally, physically, and emotionally, Antonia. At first, Antonia resisted, her thoughts tangled in a chaotic web of old wounds and unanswered questions. She wanted to recoil, to cling to the pain that she carried for so long, a pain that had defined and held her in a way that he never had. Every time I harmed you, I poisoned myself, so much so that my time in that incarnation was shortened as a result. It's why I fell prey to that condition, Antonia, and it's why we spent so much time together at the end. My soul was crying out for a way to apologize, but my mind and body simply weren't brave enough to verbalize it. But as his words sank deeper, she felt a strange, unfurling warmth like sunlight breaking through a dense mist. Her anger, which once felt like a shield, now felt oddly heavy, weighing down something she was no longer sure she needed to protect. The guilt I felt over what I did to you brought an early end to my life and caused my soul to pay a penance in the great thereafter. However, that penance led me to the level of spiritual understanding I currently have, and I have you to thank for that. I owe everything to you. His energy resonated within her, filling spaces she hadn't realized were empty. For the first time, she felt the possibility that maybe, just maybe, she could let go, if only a little. The steadfast strength of your character in the face of such darkness was my mirror, and Antonia, I thank you. Your love for Winston was the most beautiful thing I ever saw in that lifetime, and I'm privileged to have had you guide me as much as I was supposed to guide you. You are loved, and you always have been. With those words, a dam broke within Antonia's psyche. She was shocked, amazed, overcome, elated, and basically overcome. If she was still within her body, she would have hugged this male tighter than she'd ever hugged anyone before. If she was still within her body, she would have cried a river of tears onto his chest and bawled hard and loud enough to be heard for a mile in all directions. But alas, Antonia was not in her body, and she could not hug him nor cry onto his chest. All she could do was think of the words, "I love you too." And with that, reality began to morph. Okay, there we go.
Lovely. That was a beautiful words and pretty darn good reading too, Karen.
Oh, cheers. Thank you.
Great job.
I wanted to do this event justice,
Yeah, no, your reading voice is really great. I felt like I was fully immersed in that.
So do you have any questions, or would you like me to speak about the book? There were some thoughts I wanted to share. Well, firstly, a little bit about the book itself, and also about America as a country, because this book is set in America while I'm English. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, so the book, as I say, the book is called N-Word, and it's about a woman called Antonia, who you just heard there. She's an 85-year-old white woman who dies and immediately is reborn in the body of a 23-year-old Black OnlyFans and Instagram model. Immediately. So it's not like she's reborn, but as a baby and she has to age up to 23. No, it's like 1 minute she's old, white, wrinkly. Next minute she's young, Black, sexy. It's just like that. And the book itself follows Antonia in two timelines. The first timeline, she's in her original white body in the 50s and 60s in civil rights era America. And in the second timeline, she's in the present day in the body of the IG model and adjusting to what it's like suddenly being young and sexy again in the present day. And it's a deep book. It's erotic. It's dark in places. It's spiritual, as you can hear. And it's essentially been written, honestly, I mean, I'm sure this might sound cheesy to say, but written with love. I've kind of put my heart and my soul into this book itself.
Sounds like it shows.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, Kieran, I appreciate you coming on. That's actually time. So I wanted to say thanks for coming on, and we got to move on to the next people. But I really appreciate you coming on and reading your book and telling us about your thoughts.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks again for reading.
All right, moving on along. Up next, we've got Grinnell Buzz Desjardins. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Desjardins. You remember?
Desjardins.
Like fine wine. Beaujolais, Desjardins.
There you go. Yeah. Buzz is the author of Saving Casey and is going to discuss the annual holiday party his grandparents would throw for members of a small Montana Indian reservation, which I'm really excited to hear more about. How's it going today, Buzz?
I'm doing well. I hope you guys are doing well and I'm having a good day.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, tell us about this Christmas tradition that you had.
Yeah, actually, our Christmases were rather quiet on the reservation, and I would spend holidays with my grandparents on the Rocky Boy Indian Reservation on my mother's side. Interesting, because on my father's side was the Blackfeet Reservation, which was 100 miles to the east, actually. So in the wintertime, there was not much to celebrate. That small Montana reservation is about 40 miles south of the Canadian border. So in the wintertime, it was pretty cold. And it seems to me back then, we're talking back in the 1959, 1960, dating myself. I was about 9 or 10 years old. And the actual celebration was on New Year's Eve. And what they did, as I remember, they had an old log house, and it stood up on the side of a hill. And you could drive down to it from an upper road, or you could drive up to it from a lower road. And in the wintertime, no one could go either direction. They had to park down below the hill and walk up to the event. But things started early on New Year's Eve morning, I remember. And that cabin back then, we didn't have any running water. They had just brought electricity to the reservation. So we were heated with a wood stove, and all the events of the day and the cooking was done on an old Monarch wood stove.
Hmm.
And me and my cousins that were staying there during the holidays would stay up in the little attic of the log cabin. And it was cold. It was very cold. And I could hear my grandfather rummaging around down there really early in the morning. And the coal bucket was going, and he was filling the stove with coal, and he'd get the coal started and then put the wood in and get things going. I think my cousins were awake too. No one wanted to get out of bed because it was so doggone cold. It was like your covers had frost on them. But eventually we warmed up a little bit, and then my aunts and my grandmother got up, and you could hear them banging around down there and getting ready to do what they were doing. Then you could smell some things start to cook, and we'd slowly get up, me and my cousins, and then we had our list of chores to do. We had to go down and get water. Water was about a 200-yard trek down the hill and across the way to a fresh spring. We'd have to break the ice out, fill the water buckets, and help one another carry those water buckets up the hill. Slipping and sliding all the way, because there was always snow on the ground, and it was somewhat pretty deep usually. And once we get our chores done, and we chop wood, bring some wood in so we could get the stoves going and keeping the place warm. And my grandmother was an excellent cook, and it was like the old style type of cooking. They would bake bread in the Monarch and do all that sort of thing. And they had a garden in the summertime that they would grow all these wonderful things, all these vegetables and all these things. Potatoes were all homegrown. Everything tasted so good back then. The root cellar below the log cabin was always stocked full of vegetables and all those things from that fresh garden. And so we also had venison and beef that was in a salt tub. Meat was all salted. That's how you kept it fresh. So all of these wonderful things started cooking, and they would make provisions for creating what we call bullets. It's like the imitation of a bullet. It's an old traditional thing. In a war, someone ran out of bullets, and then so they started the idea we'll make our own bullets. And so they're like little hamburger balls in a mixture of soup. Very traditional, and we still do that today, even though we're not on the reservation. So we would make sure the water was kept well stocked, and just help out where we could. And for the rest of the day, we would go outside and play, me and my cousins. And there was plenty of hills around. We had an old, I think an old 52 or 52 or 53 Chevrolet hood. And we would like 4 or 5 of us jump in that hood and slide down those long hills. Never mind the razor sharp edges. We could have cut ourselves to ribbons at any given time, but that's what we did. And we just had a ball. Around nightfall, and when all the stuff was laid out, the tables were put together, and this cabin wasn't that big. The tables were put together, like all the mismatched dinnerware was set in place, and all these wonderful smells were coming about. And this invitation was reservation wide, and people would come from all over. And one group would come in, and us kids, we'd go down with a flashlight, escort everyone up the hill, one group, and then escort them down. And everyone was, of course, already a little bit happy, if you know what I mean. And everyone got in, and some people brought their own instruments. Folks back then loved to play the fiddle, harmonica, and some loved to sing, and some had guitars. And so there was always something going on during that thing. So the groups everybody was having a good time talking about what they did last year, how good it was or bad it was, and what the hopes were for the next year. And somewhere in there, my grandfather would step in, and I was at a prayer in as time went by. And everybody just had a great time, and I'll never forget those times. It was just an amazing thing. And people just kept coming all through the night until, 12 a.m., and my grandfather would break out a bottle and pass it around. He never drank, neither did my grandmother, but it was always available for their friends. Some people showed up, drove. Some people walked if they were close enough. Some rode horses. People dressed differently. Some were very formal, with even a tie for back then was quite something. Some had work clothes on. They had just gotten off wherever they were working at. And others wore various bits of Indian regalia, and some were too happy. But everyone had a great time, and I always just remember that, and it strikes me as today that tradition is gone. It just doesn't happen anymore. No one's ever taken that to heart and continued that tradition. I don't know what the deal is. It's like the further we get into life now, it's like those wonderful things are just gone away with. Dear memories to me. Those are just some of the things that I always think about around the holidays and around New Year's. And I still do some of the traditional things with some of the things that we cook and enjoy those things still. So.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what elements from that time do you still try to make sure to incorporate in your life and in your traditions?
Well, usually on New Year's Eve, we'll cook up that traditional dish, and then you get some fry bread. You always have to have some fry bread, and mix those things together and get as many families together. It's like where I live up in Washington State. I have some cousins that actually live not too far away, and we always make it a point to get together on New Year's. And sometimes I'll go over and see my brother over in North Idaho. I have a large family over there. And we get together, do the same thing. Get together and relive the past year, what our hopes are for the future, what our challenges are, and just to share our love and enjoyment with one another, and be supportive and share our lives and things like that. It's a great tradition. I just love doing that.
Yeah. Well,
fantastic experience.
Yeah, absolutely. With the last few seconds that we've got left, is there a final message that you want to leave with our viewers?
Yeah, get a copy of Saving KC, of course. www.savingkc.com. It's available on Audible as well. It has 2 endings. Don't be surprised. It has 2 endings. You get to pick which one you like the best.
Ooh, I like that. I'm always wishing it was a different way, so now I get to have both.
There you go.
All right. Well, Buzz, thanks so much for coming by, and I hope that you have a great holiday season. We'll talk to you later. Later.
Yeah, you
Thanks for
folks
sharing
too.
with us.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And we've got just 2 left. We are going to bring up Laura now. Laura Bernhardt. Hello. How are you?
James,
Laura?
you didn't tell me you were going to
Laura.
have any beauties. What a deal is this?
You silly.
You look especially good there, posed in front of all my album covers.
Your album cover.
Right.
Yes. Your favorite spot.
Yeah. So is it Laura or Lara?
Lara.
Lara.
Like
Okay.
like
Thank you.
the Tomb Raider. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
Superman's
Gotcha.
mother.
Like Superman's mother. But I'm named
Yeah.
after the character in Dr. Zhivago. His doomed
Okay. Gotcha.
love.
Yeah. Laura Bernhardt.
James, we've lost your audio.
Hold on. Am I back?
There you
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
Still no? Okay.
We can
Sorry. We're gonna roll with it.
Good.
Anyways,
I text
Laura
you, but
is
I
here
really
to-
can't see what I'm doing, so don't judge me on my spelling, okay?
No, you're good. You're good. Laura is the author of Christmas Spirit, a retelling of Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and is here to discuss adapting her Christmas traditions for a psychic who is witnessing ghosts haunting her main character. I'm really excited to get to talk more about that. So yeah, welcome and thanks for bearing with me on the mic.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about my book. Let's see if I can get in there. There we go. Christmas Spirit.
It's a
This
great
is
book.
actually book 5 in the series, but
Wow.
I knew I wanted to do a Christmas book from early on. We've been talking about traditions, and one of our traditions, of course, is that we always watch at least one version of Dickens' A Christmas Carol during the season. It's one of my favorites and has been since I was a very little girl. I even like the Muppet Christmas Carol, which I know some people don't much care for. So this
I'll
seemed like
take Mr. Magoo any day.
this really seemed perfect when I was trying to decide what the story was going to be. What was going to be her investigation for the Christmas story? It just hit me all of a sudden one day, and I thought it's got to be a version of the Christmas Carol. So it's set in New Orleans, and there are a lot of characters that you will recognize from the original story, but updated and modernized. The health issue kind of brings in our current, oddly enough, with what's in the news right now. There's a parent with a child and is dealing with health insurance issues with the child. So it's kind of topical as well. So the main character is being put through the ringer, and my main character, Kimberly, is actually able to see the spirits that are plaguing and disturbing him, and kind of helps him through what's a terrifying situation to him. It also continues on the story that's a through line throughout the series as well. So we've got a couple of stories woven in throughout it, and ends with a little bit of a twist. And my bad. I should have had the next one out by now, because everyone's waiting to find out what happens.
Yeah.
What holiday
I'm
gets
wondering
the
if
theme
you-
for that one?
Well, actually, the next book is going to be a Valentine's Day. It's the Valentine's Day episode.
Ooh. Okay. I'm wondering if did you come across any cool new information about this movie that you've loved for so long while you were writing the book? Like, did you do a lot of research into Christmas Carol?
Well, Bill actually studied Charles Dickens' works when he was in school.
Ah, okay.
And so he's a good source right there, the original, because he is
Yeah.
such a big fan
Yeah.
of Dickens. I think I probably lifted my favorite bits out of it and tried to decide how to more modernize them. And then we had been to New Orleans. Bill and I had been to New Orleans. And so I set it there. We were there around Christmas time and I absolutely loved it. And I thought, well, here we go. This is where I want to set it. Each of the episodes is set in a different location. Kimberly Wantland is a psychic and has become a celebrity. Think like Ghost Hunters with a little bit of X-Files tossed in as well. But she travels around and investigates reported paranormal activity. And the benefit is that she can connect with those spirits, try to figure out what it is that's causing them to be restless, what's distressing them, so she can help them resolve their issue and move on. But this time she actually runs into someone who's not going to, isn't even seeking resolution, so they can't be placated, and it's all tying together. There are 2 more books in the series.
That's awesome. Yeah. What other holidays have you covered? Like,
Halloween.
have you had holidays? Oh, Halloween.
Yes,
That's a good one.
Halloween and Hannibal, and then Christmas Spirit, and then there will be the Valentine's Day episode, and then there will be the series finale.
And that'll be St. Swithin's Day or something. What's left?
No, this is the much promised showdown at the home she grew up in, her childhood home, where her mother passed away inexplicably. No one was ever able to explain how. And actually, in Christmas Spirit, we get a little bit more information about that.
Ooh, okay. Little teaser.
So little teaser. We got to have. We went to Cafe du Monde when we were there, so of course that's in the book. I put a lot of the fun things that we did into the book, and I also wove some voodoo into the book a little bit. Tarot.
Yeah.
I understand there was a tarot reading earlier.
Yep.
Did you get a text? Because I already told them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's like a process of kind of like getting to unpack and appreciate more an experience that you've already had, like getting to write about a city that you visited and have like fond memories of, and in those places in there? Is that kind of like almost like writing a journal for you, like kind of expanding it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd maybe not thought of writing in a journal, but now that you say that, yes, because when I picked up the book and started flipping through it and reminding myself, it's those memories of being there with Bill that come back to me as well. Take lots of pictures, jot down lots of notes. It's important to get the real details right. I mean, I have lots of fun with writing about the supernatural element, and that can be whatever I want it to be, but I try to get the real elements as close as possible, then just have a lot of fun with it. And I do. I love writing these books so much.
We were doing a small group writing retreat, right? That's why we were in
yes,
New Orleans just before Christmas. Yeah, that was fun.
Was a great
that was
group.
cool.
Super fun.
Very good. And it's really, when you have a small enough group that you can actually read people's work and give real feedback and actually get to know them, that's the best. Plus, New Orleans. How many times did we go to Brennan's?
And Brennan's is in
another Christmas tradition.
Yes, and I have the little bells on the pink ribbons, and I still have the one we got.
You're going to share your recipe for your fabulous cinnamon rolls? That's what we get on holidays.
Oh my, yes, that's a tradition of ours. I do make homemade cinnamon rolls, and it's a process. They start the night before. It's all completely from scratch. And I actually incorporate some whole wheat flour within it. I love to bake because you you can modify your ingredients and you can make it exactly the way that you want it. And I roll it out, cut them up, they rise overnight, and then I bake them the next morning, and then they get a glaze on top. They are so good.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Well, we're running out of time, but we got a few seconds left. Is there a final message that you want to make sure to leave with our viewers?
I will just say, 'tis the season to be haunted. Enjoy a good ghost story. Ghost stories,
I love that.
ghost stories are historically enjoyed at Christmas time. So, grab a good ghost story and enjoy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Laura. I really appreciate you coming by.
Hey,
Thank
see
you.
you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Last up, we've got Stephen Joseph. Hey, Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Stephen, good to see you.
I'm doing good. Let me see if I can read through this intro here. I didn't do so good when we did it in practice, but we're going to try. Stephen Joseph is bringing Swifty Swoodle in the Doo-Wah Padoodles, Groodle Cheese Doodle Powered Balloon Doodles,
Balloon Doodles.
Balloon Doodles.
And now 3 times fast. Okay.
Yeah. Jalapeno peppered Papa Doodles, and all the Snoodle gang back for another great adventure. And this time they are escaping from Zoodletraz. How's it going, Stephen?
Oh, it's going fabulous. Really, really good.
Yeah. You want to just kick off with the reading?
So, well, just to give you a background, so this is the 4th Snoodles book. So there is Snoodles, Cadoodles, Poodles, and lots of noodles, if you can see it. And then the second book is...
I think it's getting washed out in your green screen a little bit.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying.
We got links to all this, yeah.
Space.
Turn that background off. Who are you fooling?
The Zoodle Strike Back. So just give it back. Just explain this. The always the challenge with, like, you're writing the 3rd and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Now the 4th book, and now after this will be the 5th book. But this will be the 4th book, Escape from Zoodletraz. I want to write a book that kind of reprises everything that happened in the first 3 books, and it's a challenge. And then it still could be a standalone book that you don't have to read the first 3 books, and you can still enjoy this book. So the last book, I had this movie theme where, like, previously in Snoodles in Space, and this time I'm having, like, there's this parade and the mayor gives the state of the city speech. So that's kind of what I'm reading to start. My illustrator's drawing up the stuff right now. So next year, this book will be out, but you'll get to have the reading now before the book comes out. So that's what I'm doing. I'm at least the beginning. I'm not giving the whole thing away. Don't worry.
Sneak preview.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of exclusives today.
Yes.
So I got you all set. Feel free to go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'm going to start. Good morning. I hope you have all enjoyed our first annual Wackadoodle Thanksgiving Day Parade. As you all know, I am Mayor Penelope Politoodle, mayor of this fine city of Noodleham, where the air is always clean, the skies are always blue, and today our rivers, our lakes are free of gruel. This is the city of heroes. First and foremost, we have Herbie Stoodleman, who invented the Snoodle that runs on noodles and provides wholesome noodle meals to all of our citizens. Those days of driving in Groodles and Krautmobiles are long forgotten and a distant memory. We also have Sour Kroodleman, whose invention of the prickly peppered purple propulsion powered pickle has allowed us to venture into galaxies far beyond our own. We have our talented children as well. Brianna Brainy Brutal and Ricky Rockadoodle help free their parents. Norman Noodle and Sally Strudel, who were held captive by the Zoodles, and with their assistance helped prevent the Zoodles from vacudoodling Earth's entire supply of noodles. Frippy Fruppy Fruddle and Whippy Whiny Woodle, though they had the unfortunate accidents that Chunky Chockadoodle's Candy Doodle factory turning into a Papadoodle or the Slimadoodle helped prevent all of us becoming willy-nilly noodles and dilly-dally doodles. They also should be credited with getting the Zoodles Doodle all of the gruel from our fair waters. We also have to thank our heroes for creating Noodleham's fabulous attractions that draw people from around the world. The Snoodle Cadoodle Noodle Art Museum, built by Herbie Snoodleman, has the world's largest display of noodle art. Sauer Krudelman graciously gave us the prickly peppered purple propulsion powered pickle museum of space exploration. And my favorite, we all love Frippies and Whippies, Frutal, Water Woodle, Aquadoodle, Marine Aquarium. And since we are providing rocket science and brain surgery training to the Zoodles, and with our great citizens Norman Noodle and Sally Strudel spending their valuable time teaching the Zoodles, not the noodles, how to make delicious noodle cakes and pies, we can now live in peace with the Zoodles. Heck, we even had our first Earth Zoodle intermarriage with Droodle the Poodle and Doodle Cadoodle getting married. That is despite the fact that Zoodles do not permit pets on their planet. We could only expect an exciting new year in Noodleham. And now the story begins. So I could do the second part. I have not giving it away. I have a second part. So this book is the music scene, the great music scene that he left out. Polly Toodle didn't talk about the music. We have like Andy Dandy Doodle and the Schnazadoodles, Sneezy and Stuffy Schnazadoodle, and Swifty Swoodle and the Wappadoodles, who were the biggest head. Oh, Swifty Swoodle, she had like the gazillion $1 million tour, packing stadiums, and then Cloodle the Grand Roodle has his own band. Cloodle and the Grand Roodles heard about this, and he came to Earth to do his own tour, thinking he could make $1 gazillion, but he kind of sucked. He was really bad. No, and then he had to go back. The tour is canceled. It was just, and he wants revenge. It's just, I don't know this revenge thing. I don't get it, but people, the Zoodles are a big revenge kind of people.
What are the Zoodles seeking revenge for?
It's just being embarrassed. Cloodle the Grand Roodle. If you're the Grand Roodle, you have to be the Grand Roodle. You can't look silly, stupid. You can't be like, people can't be throwing noodles at you. They can't cancel the tour on you. They can't call you a snoradoodle. It's just like, it's not a good look.
Yeah. Basic everyday stuff.
Yeah.
So do you work from a script, or did these words just flow out of you like a fountain? Or
I wrote this drug-free, no drugs at all. So and sometimes
I don't believe it. I want to test.
No, but I run, and then I have it's like dust collecting. Just once I have an idea, and then there's other ideas. And the nice thing about the books, creating this world, and the world gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's actually more. The stories are easy. It's just like trying to write something that, what's he talking about? Trying to rehash what already happened. So that's the biggest challenge. But other than that, because there's so many different things happening, and these characters have different, these huge personalities, and they're crazy, it's easy to come up with kind of another crazy story.
Yeah. Okay. You maybe make it look easy. I doubt if it actually is.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised that, because the thing that gets me is when you're just talking about who the characters are and what their backstory is. I think that it's wild that you can like keep all that together in your brain with all of the words being so similar. It would be so difficult for me to remember all of that.
Well, the amazing thing, when you talk about backstory, my illustrator, he's British. He lives in Nottingham, not Noodleham. But when he draws the backstory. So he talks about like J.K. Rowling, who when she has all these books, but she developed all the characters beforehand. She's like writing all the things about these characters. So when she's writing the story, there's a lot of stuff that never shows up in the book because she's writing the backstory, and he knows this. So when he's drawing, there's drawings to get into the books, but he's drawing other things to get in the backstory. So he keeps telling me, like in the first book, there's Pierre Latoudle and Artie, I forget the names, but he draws up a lot of different drawings about those characters just to give them like more dimension, and then only certain pictures get into the book. So he keeps saying, "Oh, there's so much to talk about Pierre Latour. Like my favorite character is this. You have to write more." Okay. So.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, it's always a pleasure having you on. I appreciate you coming on and giving us a nice little bedtime story again.
Yes, my pleasure.
Thanks again.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one. All right. And that's it. Now,
that's the lineup. Huh?
Yeah, we got through them all. That was a great episode. A lot of fun people. And then I also
you got some prizes or something to give away, don't you?
I do have a giveaway a giveaway to announce. The winner of the giveaway is none other than Carol N. Which I feel like I said that in a way that made it seem like you should know who that is, but at any rate,
not the Carol N.
Yeah, the Carol N.
And there are, what would you guess, 200-300 million people who are named Carol N. You're gonna have to give us more.
They all won. They're all getting some. Yeah, Carol N won. Other than that, we're all done though. Like I do want to ask for you to go ahead and give some places people can go and view your work as well too, though. I want to make sure that we get that out there.
Oh, thanks. Well, my website is obviously williambernhardt.com. Currently under construction, so give us some slack, but go to Amazon or wherever you buy books online and put in my name and you'll get so many titles. Surely there'll be something you like. And including The Midnight Before Christmas. And again, if you or somebody who's aspiring to write, send them to WriterCon. I'm really proud of that conference. We've launched a lot of careers.
Yeah. How can people do that? How can people find WriterCon?
Same deal. You can go to WriterCon. Am I saying that? Just to be clear, that's WRITERCON.com. And there you'll find out all about the conference, which is always Labor Day weekend. And but for that matter, we also do a writing cruise and a small group retreat and a lot of other stuff you can find out about. But this would be a great time to give that conference registration as a Christmas gift. Don't you think, James? That's what you were going to say, right?
I absolutely agree. I've been telling everyone that they need to buy that for everyone in their lives, even if they don't like writing or books or anything.
You never know. I was doing this college thing once, and one of the students came up to me and literally said, "Mr. Bernhardt, can you help me? I'd really like to be a writer, but I hate to read. What do you recommend?" And I said, "I recommend you rethink this because maybe a business major, that's writing, that's not going to happen if you're not. That's like a prerequisite."
Yeah, I want to be a fireman, but I don't want to hear about what other firemen do.
Right. I don't want to know about fire. That'd be weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming by. I think that's the end of the episode. We can go ahead and call it a little bit early, I think, today. And yeah, we'll talk to everybody later. And thanks for watching.
To everyone watching. Thanks, Desiree and Dave, for inviting me to host. This has been a blast. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.